Welcome to another episode of Take Up Space. And in today's conversation, we have with us Nisha Pahuja, who's an Oscar-nominated and award-winning filmmaker from Toronto. And her films have shown to hold a mirror up to the systems of gender, power, silence, especially within the South Asian community. I think they also ask something really intimate of the viewer, at least this was my experience, which is to notice what gets stirred inside of each of us when the truth is named or shared in such a powerful storytelling way. Nisha, I found some of the first projects you worked on, like Bollywood Bound and Diamond Road, and your work has been recognized at major festivals and earned many nominations, and also recently sparked the global campaign Stand With Her. So this conversation, Nisha, I really was hoping, yes, to dig into your work, but also just to hear from you and to give you a platform and a voice to understand your process, maybe even the personal cost, the responsibility, what it means to be where you are and tell the stories that you tell, what it takes from you, what your lens are. So all that to say, really grateful that you're here. I don't know if you remember, but you did the Stand With Her event in Dallas. And that's actually where I first saw you. And I actually got to see little clips of Tequila Tiger. Kieran and Ranjit were also present, which was so special. There was an entire panel. And I remember after that event, immediately trying to get a hold of you and wanting to speak to you further and looking up your other work. But yeah, I'm so grateful. So thank you for being here.
Thanks, Farah. So nice to have you. So ask away, and thank you for, thank you for doing this. Thank you for making sure that we had this conversation, and I'm looking forward to it. So yes, please ask me anything.
All right. What I thought would be interesting was really to get context on your choice of work. Really is. So the films that I've seen of yours, Tequila Tiger specifically, really hold that mirror to society. But even your work before that, I felt like all of those choices speak volumes on maybe where you come from as an artist, as a creator, as a filmmaker. So I am curious, Nish, what drew you to filmmaking? And is that something that you chose to do, or maybe it slowly came to you?
Yeah. So I think for me, when I was in my 20s, first of all, I studied English literature in university, and
Mm,
my initial dream was to be a writer, right? Because
wow.
I
Yeah.
was quite I really wanted to be a novelist, either both a novelist and someone who wrote nonfiction.
Okay.
And I think, when you're growing up, especially when you come, I think, from a South Asian family that wants you to be a
Yeah.
doctor, lawyer, engineer, you start to kind of, maybe you sort of doubt yourself a little bit. I think being an artist or being someone that's creative is already it's so vulnerable and it's so scary.
Mm,
And, in our community, it's not even an option. It's never, or at least it wasn't when I was growing up. It just wasn't something to even think about or contemplate. So I never really took it seriously. I never really took seriously this idea that I could do something in the creative
yeah.
fields.
Yeah.
So there was that. There was this desire to be creative, but then um, there was also from childhood a
Mm-hmm.
sense of wanting to understand injustice and and
Mm,
and why we commit injustice. Not just in terms of what I saw in my family,
mm,
but also what I saw in society, the racism I experienced, some of the things that we watched as children. My father made us watch Roots,
mm,
which was, and I was 10 years old or 11 years old. And that was quite a shaping moment, right? I still remember that experience.
yeah.
So I think there was always, a sense of wanting to uncover injustice and understand injustice. And then there was this creative element inside of me, which I sort of buried
Mm,
until
yeah.
I couldn't any longer. And so my first job out of university was actually in the area of social justice.
Okay.
And I have to say, after a few years, I thought this is not the path for me. I literally, to be succinct, I got
Mm-hmm.
into filmmaking quite by chance. It was
Okay.
completely accidental. And yet, once I started to work in documentary, and I started off as a researcher, once I started to work in documentary, I really felt like I had sort of found my calling and never looked back, you know?
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it found you.
I think so. I think so. I think these things are a little bit, I do believe in destiny and fate and all of those kinds of
Same.
things. I
Yeah.
think there's an organic process around that. I don't think everything is completely accidental or preordained rather, but yes, I think it was definitely a little bit of that. It was probably what I was meant to do.
Yeah. Oh, and how lucky are we that you landed in this spot?
Thank you, Farah.
Yeah. I guess, you mentioned that the typical like South Asian journey of choosing your career, what you said resonates so much even to this day.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, was there any challenges you faced when you decided to commit and not look the other way?
I have to say there wasn't at all. I
Okay.
mean, it was simply okay, if this is what you're doing, you're on your own, right?
Mm,
It was
yeah.
it was really that. And so I think I just, my mom was saying to me the other day that I've always been, since childhood, I've always been someone who's been very not stubborn. Stubborn's not the right word.
Mm,
It's more that when I put my mind to something, I become immovable. And so I think it was just that. It was just, I'd made up my mind that I was going to see where this creative journey took me, just as I had decided
yeah.
I was going to, follow, like, doing social justice work was also following my heart, right? It wasn't
Yeah.
like, and so yeah, so when I made that decision, I just made that decision, and it wasn't, I never looked back. And that
Yeah.
isn't to say that, you're not racked with self-doubt, or you're not insecure, or you're not
Right,
afraid, or
right.
because you are, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But you just don't let that stuff
Hold you back. Yeah.
prevent you. I wouldn't say hold, I think it does hold you back, but I
Mm,
would say that it doesn't prevent you from trying and prevent you
yeah.
from following your path.
Yeah, it's like you can be
Yeah.
scared and do it
Yeah,
anyway.
that's right.
Yeah, and I wonder, do your parents look at your work now? And when they do, if they do they have anything, different to say, or is it different now?
Yeah, I think there have been moments in my creative life where my parents have been so proud. Like,
Mm,
kind of
mhm.
annoying the relatives proud, you know what I mean?
Yes,
It's like,
yes.
okay, we get it already. So yes, I think definitely they've been extremely proud for sure.
Mm,
Yeah.
okay, I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Okay, and so when you found your way into filmmaking, or it found you and it felt right, it felt like it was meant to be. I think the choices you make, like I was saying, the stories that you've been telling. I'm curious, what is your, like, when you find a story, how do you know that this is one that I want to stay with? This is one that I want to follow.
Hmm.
It sounds like you have this thread and curiosity about injustice, period. So that probably plays a factor. But what I noticed when I was watching To Kill a Tiger even was this content. And I also I'm a therapist at a rape crisis center, and so this content is so emotional, and it is so heavy and so important, therefore. But I wonder, from a filmmaking process, do you factor in, like, that personal emotional journey that you'll be on for those years, for that time, or like, how do you pick that this is that story I want to tell, and I'm willing to stay with it no matter what it costs?
Yeah, I think, there's a movement now in the documentary space, both where we're starting to talk about the impact of films and filmmaking,
Hmm.
on the participants, as well as on the filmmakers themselves.
Okay, okay.
And I think, if you're a very conscientious filmmaker, and I would like to think that I am, that's always part of it, like caring for the people in the film.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think I've been very good at caring for myself necessarily.
Okay. Yeah, that's
You know,
and that's where I was asking.
yeah. So I'm not sure. I definitely would say that I've never factored in my own kind of
Mm,
mental health, or, the impact
okay. And if
in.
you reflected in this moment, like, just in your journey, do you think it has taken a toll on you in some kind of way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It
I can't
can't.
imagine it not. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's impossible. I
Hmm.
think it's impossible for it not to, because I would say that most documentary filmmakers are engaged in the work that they do. It isn't about making films.
Hmm.
For me, it isn't. It isn't about making films. It's really about understanding the world.
Mm,
And so that kind of engagement is both, it's political, it's physical, it's spiritual,
yeah.
it's emotional, it's everything, right? Like
Yeah.
the work, you're in a constant dialogue with the work, right? And it's why your body of work, like all filmmakers, when, or all creators, like when you look at their body of work, it is also a reflection of who they are as human beings.
Hmm.
It's such an interesting experience. Like there's a dialogue that's taking place between you and the work that you're creating. And the work that you're creating is a reflection of you, and then it also shapes you. It's a very interesting journey, I think, that creators go on.
Yeah.
So yeah, it definitely has an impact on your life. And I do a lot of facials and a lot of massages.
That's good. That's something. Okay, it sounds like you do put in a lot of thought, and it is like you're saying a standard process for documentary makers to care about the people in the documentary and maybe even the people working on the documentary when it comes to the emotional aspect or the mental, physical being aspect of how much work it takes. But your personal self, have not focused on that yet for you.
Both. Like I would say that I think as a community, it's like independent filmmakers and
Hmm.
documentary filmmakers. We've grown up, especially in my generation. We really grew up in a culture where, what, an 8-hour workday? What's that? And so it's kind of like it's sort of it's an understood part of filmmaking, and maybe it's changing now.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would really say that we work really hard in this industry.
Hmm.
The folks that are creating the films, like the producers, the directors, the camera people, the sound people, the editors, we work
Yeah.
really, really hard. And I think there's a sense of, it's like every film is a little bit like a startup, you know?
Okay.
And
Yeah.
you know that you have limited resources, and the thing that you have, that you all have, is time and creativity.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
so I think, and if you get into independent filmmaking, most people get into independent filmmaking because they really care about the stories that they're telling. And so there's a lot of sacrifice that people make.
Right. Yeah.
There's a lot that people give to these processes.
Yeah,
Whether
absolutely.
it's healthy or unhealthy, I don't know anymore. I've been doing it for too long in this way, and this is the industry that I was raised in. And I'm
Yeah.
sure younger people are changing it, and I think that's great. But yeah, I would say as a rule, independent filmmakers and documentary filmmakers, like all filmmakers really, we work really hard. We work long
Right.
hours and very hard. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and that work is what creates the outcome and the
Yeah.
storytelling, right?
Yeah.
I guess my thought there was just, well, we want you to sustain yourself for as long as possible. So of course, take care of yourself, Nisha, as much as you can.
Hence the massages. Yeah.
And the facials, yeah. So on the first part of that though, is there anything you go through to find these stories, or did they just come to you? Like To Kill a Tiger, was that something that you were like, when you heard about it, there's something that clicked in you, were like, I want to work on this, I know I want to stay with this story? Or is this something you seek out? Like how has that been for you in your filmography?
Yeah, I mean everything is different, and I think
Mm,
it's, for me, what happens is an idea comes, or there's a question, right? And I feel this burning need to try to understand something. So, with the first film, with Bollywood Bound,
mhm.
it was literally just this. I went to go see, I can't remember, I think I went to go see Shah Rukh Khan perform somewhere in
Oh, really?
person. Yeah, this was like many decades ago. And I just was so struck by how many young people were in the audience.
Mm,
And, I just started to think about my own relationship to Bollywood and how important it was and what it gave me, and
oh my God.
so many
Yes.
memories tied
Yes.
to that
Yes.
relationship with the Hindi film industry. And I thought, wouldn't it be interesting, to make a film about, and I knew for me it was about identity, right? It wasn't about
Hmm.
these kinds of beautiful epic confections and musicals. It wasn't that at all. That was obviously an appeal, but there was a much deeper appeal, and that was finding a sense of belonging.
Yeah.
Because when we were kids, we never saw ourselves reflected on a big screen,
Right.
and going to the cinema was our way of being validated in a way, right?
Yeah.
And so, I thought, oh, this would be such an interesting film to explore home, but through the prism of Bollywood and following kids who go back to India to try to become movie stars, because it's the only industry that will take them, right?
Hmm.
And so that was that. Then with the Diamond series, it was reading an article in National Geographic and just being utterly blown away by how we decide what is valuable,
Mm,
and how the meaning of the stone,
hmm.
which is essentially meaningless, but how
What
this
goes behind?
stone,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, like what's behind that, and how it has such different value and different meanings for people who are on the various, it's called in the diamond world, it's called the diamond pipeline. And I thought, what a fascinating story about this little rock that's been kind of a witness of human history and human folly
Oh
over
my
the
gosh. Yes.
centuries. And so that's what sort of spurred that. And with The World Before Her, it was really a chance meeting, a chance invitation in Bombay to. Do you remember Yukta Mukhi? She won Miss World many
Yeah.
years
Yeah. Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
So it was sort of her homecoming, and I happened to be in India, and I was invited to her homecoming. And again, just kind of struck by, wow, pageants really are a big
Big
deal
deal.
here. And
Yeah.
what's that about? And that just kind of spurred this thing. So it's always just kind of a question that I have that needs some kind of answer. And To
Yeah.
Kill a Tiger was exceptional in that this particular film just fell into my lap. The story just happened. And
Mm,
I was filming something completely different. I was filming a totally different film, and this happened, and it's connected. They're related. It was organic.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was actually literally, when I was following the story, when I first started following the story of Ranjit and his family, it wasn't through their POV, it was through the
Mm.
POV of the NGO. So it was like, okay, this has happened. Because I was filming with the NGO, they were my focus. They were
But was
working.
it on Ranjit's story and Kieran's
No,
story, or no?
no, it was actually, I was making a film about the work that they were doing with men and
Mm.
boys
Oh, wow.
in
Okay.
Jharkhand. Yeah, they were working with men and boys in a gender sensitization program. And
Interesting. Okay. From the
yeah, yeah,
NGO perspective.
from the NGO perspective, yes. And Ranjit, who's the dad, was enrolled in that program. He was part of the gender
Mm.
sensitization program in one of their villages.
Wow.
And so this happened, I was told that it had happened, and I asked if I could follow just, hey, can I just film with you going to meet the family and, helping them with their case, right? Not
Yeah.
knowing, where anything was going to go. Like I thought it was just going to be a small scene, that meeting when Amit goes and meets Ranjit for the first time. It's
Yeah.
also me meeting Ranjit for the first time.
Oh,
And
wow.
I just thought it was just going to be a small scene in the film.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and then it just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until, we ended up with this extraordinary story, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah. Yeah. And in real time, in the moment that it was happening,
absolutely. It was
right?
all just
That's
unfolding in front of us.
crazy.
So nobody knew, right? Nobody knew who this family was, or the power of this young girl, or the
Mhm.
resilience of this father and mother. Like we had no
Mhm.
clue. We had no
Yeah.
clue who these people were. They just evolved, and we just kept filming.
That is crazy. That makes me really lean into some of these things are just so meant to be and fated,
Exactly.
because knowing their story has made such an impact, as I read after the fact. But the fact that you ran into it by chance is, yeah,
Yeah.
it's something so special. And also, Nisha, I was going to ask the stories you mentioned before this, the films that you walked me through, Bollywood Bound, Diamond Road, The World Before. It sounds like what you were saying makes so much sense around as a filmmaker, your work is a reflection of you in that it almost reflects back like your curiosity and your journey and like what answers, what questions that are running through your mind and what comes up for you.
Hmm.
And then To Kill a Tiger, I paused because I was like, okay, this one just feels faded.
Yeah,
It's just
totally.
so faded.
Yeah.
It's really special. Did you ever, in your passion for injustice, think about like, was the idea of, gender-based violence, sexual-based violence, something that you've thought about, explored, or were curious about before that moment?
Yeah. So, I grew up in a pretty complicated home
Mm,
where I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I experienced it because, my father he sort of imposed the same restrictions on me as he did on my brothers, right? There was, he
okay.
was the patriarch and he was the boss and
Right.
he decided
Right.
what we were to do. But there was definitely a lot of control of my mom that was
Mm,
completely rooted in, gender.
mhm.
And that was I mean, that was a horrible thing to witness and to experience, right? Like to
Yeah, of course.
sort of the humiliation of her.
Of course.
And
That makes such an
yeah.
impression in many ways.
Yeah. And so I think I left. I left home as soon as I could, essentially.
Mm,
And I think, with the world before her, for example, uh, and I would say that that's really what kind of reignited my desire to understand gender-based violence. And it just
okay.
so happened, like, with the world before her, I was making a film that was looking at the Miss India contest as a way to look at nationalism
Yeah.
and the idea of a certain kind of Indian identity being imposed on the bodies of women, right?
Mhm.
And also I was looking at it was the Miss India contest, and then I was looking also at the rise of the Hindu right wing,
Okay. Yeah.
and really the idea of how women's bodies were being used to put forward two different ideas of Indian identity.
Mhm.
And over the course, it was just I was doing research for that film, and one of it was the 2008, I believe, 2008, 2009. I was doing some filming. A lot of times when you're a filmmaker, you just sort of you take a camera and you do research filming, right? So you're
Yeah.
just getting people comfortable, you're getting a sense of what they're like on camera, you're just kind of asking questions. And it was a research interview with a young woman named Pooja Chopra, who I actually wasn't even planning on interviewing. I wanted to interview her roommate. Her roommate was asleep. Pooja answered the door
Mhm.
and she said, "Well, why don't you just interview me? It'll be good practice for me. And because I got to get comfortable in front of the judges." And I said, "Sure, okay."
Mm.
So Pooja told me the story that literally just was, I thought I misheard her. I thought maybe I misunderstood.
It shook
But
you.
yeah. And Pooja, obviously middle class family, very well educated, perfect English. And she tells me the story of when she was born. Her father, because she was another girl,
Mhm.
her father asked her mother to kill her
Oh my goodness.
or to throw her in an orphanage.
Wow.
And her
Yeah.
father said, "You have a choice. You either get rid of her by killing
Right.
her, or you put her in an orphanage, or you leave." And
Mm.
Pooja's mom decided that she was going to save her daughter and left. And
Mm.
I was in shock, right?
Yeah.
Like I just
Yeah,
thought,
of
oh
course.
my God. I felt so naive and I just couldn't believe it. And, it just sort
Mhm.
of started me on this journey of like, I was raised with a certain kind of gender-based violence, certain
Right.
kind of
Right.
prejudice. And the world around me is like this. And, here's this young woman who like what is this, where does it come
Yeah.
from? And I think that's what kind of started it. And so To Kill a Tiger was supposed to be a film that looked at the creation of masculinity in
Right.
India, the kind of
Right.
masculinity in India that leads to these headlines that
Right.
we've
Right.
been reading about for decades, right? So that was the original premise. But it's like the films just build on each other, right? They all
Mhm.
They all just kind of, there's a thematic thread, I would say, that connects them all, but they all
Yeah.
kind of just sort of build on each other as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting because it sounds like you have to be open enough that this thing you're working on may lead you to something completely different. And then that
Exactly.
might lead you to something completely different. But
Totally. Yeah.
that is a part of like, is it trust? Is it faith? Is it like surrendering to what is and what will be? Like, how do you kind of, I don't know, I guess prep yourself in these creative ways?
You know, Farha, this is such an excellent question. And I think that for me, I say this to a lot of young filmmakers, young doc filmmakers, that, over the years, what I've realized is that I think what I love about documentary is that it forces a kind of humility on you
Mm, mm-hmm.
because you cannot control life. And so you have to be someone who is very instinctive,
Yeah.
has a really good intuition, which we all do. We
Yeah.
just
If we
we
can
just
lean
learn
into
to
it.
yeah, we just learn to ignore it, right? We all do. And so you become someone in the field who is both reactive to what is unfolding in front of you, but
Mm-hmm.
also when you have really good intuition, you can also preempt.
Mm,
You can also get a sense of, oh, this, just based on the things that I've been observing, this could happen, right? Or
yeah.
this is the way this could go, right? So you're kind of like you're both responsive and also
Mhm.
preemptive. So it's a really interesting, you're living in a couple of different
Yeah.
time zones in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah, yeah.
You
And
know what I mean?
I bet it's hard to tap into that. It sounds like more experiential as
I
it
think so.
comes.
I
Yeah.
think so. I think you get better at it as you get older. And I think having a really good crew. So I tend to work with the same people over and over again. And one of the people is my husband, Mernal, and he is and my sound recordist Anita. They're both so brilliant.
Mm,
There's something about camera people who listen,
yeah.
right? Like who are so tuned in to what's unfolding. So it isn't just about getting footage or
Right,
shooting.
right. Like
It's
they're in
actually,
the journey with you.
yeah,
They're yeah, signed.
they're in the present moment. Like they're
Yeah.
so deeply invested in the present moment. So that's the team that you build, right? Like you just build a
Mhm.
team that's very, very present and
Yeah.
engaged.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that so much. Thank you. That I don't even think I would have thought to ask, but it's so insightful into, I guess like what goes into your process. And I guess with Tequila Tigers specifically, I'm wondering when you finish filming and you finish shooting and I imagine there was years of editing, but
Yeah.
was there something that stayed with you, from that film in a way where it still does stay with you?
Yeah.
And then if
Yeah.
you could kind of maybe walk us through that film and then going into like reaching this like global campaign and how that journey unfolded. I also kind of know that maybe it wasn't first like shown in India or in the films or in the theaters, but like it is on Netflix now, right? So now it's like available. But I wonder what challenges you faced and what stayed with you and how have you like expanded this into an entire campaign?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, so I would say that there was a moment in the edit room
Hmm.
where I realized that this was a film that had the potential to really make change and impact and, just really
Yeah.
have impact, right? And that's kind of ultimately why I make films, right? I became a filmmaker really to sort of make social change. That's what continues to compel me, and I feel very much it is the point of art
Yeah.
to be transformative.
Anisha, do you feel like that's possible always?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. I mean, I think it's a choice that you make.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's what you prioritize in life. So for
Mm.
me, there's no reason I don't. I'm not drawn to sort of creating beauty for beauty's sake. Have you seen Hamnet, by the way?
No, I haven't. Yeah. Should I?
Farha,
Yeah.
oh my God. Yeah. I mean, what? Yeah. You have to see that film. Yeah, it's a masterpiece. Yeah. It's
Mm.
for me it's like that is it. That's the highest it is the highest level of art of what art
Wow.
can do.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
I find it
Noted.
so profound, so profound. But anyway, yeah, so so I think it's a choice, right? You
Mm,
make that choice. You decide why you're doing this and why it's important for you. And not everyone, makes whatever. Everyone's on their own journey, but I made that choice.
sure, sure. And you
So
knew
I
in the
think
edit room intuitively
I
that
knew in the edit room, yeah,
this
that
is gonna be something. Yeah.
this was going to be something. This had the potential to be something. And so I started to think, okay, how do I create an impact campaign around this? Because I had done one before in India with The World
Mm,
Before Her. That was really wonderful, and I wanted to do the same. And then I went to India to do like just to kind of, get a sense of what was people's feelings about the film, people's reactions, making sure that everyone that's in the film was okay with being in the film, stress
yeah.
testing the
Yeah,
film,
yeah.
making sure the family was safe.
Mhm.
So I did this whole process, and over the course of that, I showed the film to a number of different broadcasters and streamers, and everyone said the same thing. Beautiful film, no one's going to watch it. No one's going to watch it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
And,
confidently that no one's gonna
yeah,
watch
yeah,
it.
yeah. They all said, beautiful film. No one's going to watch it because everyone is sick of rape in India. Like there's all of these series and all of these articles, and nobody wants to talk about this anymore.
Like, face
So
it or look at it further.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I thought, so at that point, I made a very, very deliberate decision to bring on celebrity executive producers.
Oh, that was
Right?
intentional.
It was
Okay. I
very
saw your
intentional.
list and yeah, there's quite a
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a decision rooted completely in the idea that
Mm,
if this film is going to make the impact that I know it can make, I need
yeah.
supporters. Like I need
Wow.
people on side. And that was, so it was a very long, deliberate process. The Oscar campaign, it was all part of Stand With Her.
Mm,
Everything was very intentional, and it was all about how do we raise this profile of this film in order to start to talk about these issues.
yeah.
And that was the idea. So, and if you ask me, what are the moments that have really stayed with me?
Mm,
It's
mhm.
always the family. Always. Like the
And you're in
day
touch
that,
with them, Nisha?
yeah, constantly. Yeah, yeah, all the time.
How
They're
are
part of the
they? I'm just
campaign.
curious. Yeah. I saw them at the event, but I'm curious.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. No, they're great. I think mom gets sick. Her health hasn't been the greatest over the last little
Mm,
while. Yeah, yeah, but I think they're okay. Like they have their ups and downs, but
right.
they're good.
Oh,
And she is really, really something. And I think, for me, what's been especially moving is how she herself has said, the trip that they were on where you met them.
yeah.
After that trip, what she said was, I know what happened to me shouldn't have happened and it was
Mhm,
awful,
mhm,
but I also think it had to happen to me because I'm
wow. Yeah.
the person, and we were supposed to make this film and we were supposed to do all this together because
Yeah.
I'm the person that has the strength to stand up and speak out.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. That's such a
Yeah.
that makes
Yes.
me like exhale. I
Yeah.
think watching it even
Yeah.
because she's 13 in the
Yeah.
documentary, right?
Yeah.
Being like I've been in a little bit of the space where I'm just like it takes so much from anyone at any age, but at 13 you're like, you just making sense of the world and that courage and then
Yeah.
this statement at the end of it, that's everything. I'm just oh my, I'm so in awe to hear that. That's lovely.
Yeah. She's she's so special. And
Yeah.
so is he, so is Ranjit. But
God, yes, one of a kind. I was just like,
yeah,
wow. Oh my
so
goodness.
special. And
Yeah.
so, like, there's something about the way they look at these things, which is just rooted in a kind of philosophy
Mhm.
and a
Mhm.
spirituality, and
Yeah.
kind of like, I don't know how to explain it because I don't want to romanticize it because it
No.
is trauma.
Yeah.
You know what I
Of
mean? It's
course. Of course.
horrible.
Right.
And it's going to continue to impact her for
In
her
so
whole
many ways
life,
for so
right?
long.
Like
Yeah,
who
yeah.
knows? I don't know what journey,
Of
she's
course. Yeah.
ultimately where it's gonna take her, but there's something about her strength and her thought process
Mhm. Yeah.
that has enabled her to find meaning
Yeah.
and purpose.
Yeah, and so innate in both her and Ranjit as well,
Yeah,
because when I was watching the documentary, I was like, man, the community around them reflects all the contradictory like community language and perspective and limited thinking, but they somehow,
yeah,
innately have a
yeah,
completely different perspective and a completely different drive, and
completely.
they don't care, and I feel like that is so, yeah, it's just so shocking to me to see that exists within,
Yeah,
despite their community and the
yeah,
environment. Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
my goodness.
yeah.
So that's what stays with you, the family, of course. Yes.
Yeah, and a couple of experiences. One, when they saw they saw the film for the first time on a large screen.
Mm,
Because
mhm.
when Ranjit first saw the film,
Yeah.
he saw it on a laptop and he just said, "Arey, isme खास तो कुछ,"
Oh, what?
I don't get this. Like, what's the big deal, right? He just said it's fine. I don't, it was so and he meant it, right? It was like,
Yeah.
what?
It's just a bunch of us talking. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, he didn't, she loved it. Kiran and Mom, they loved it.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Ranjit was just like, इसमें कुछ खास
Us.
बात तो नहीं है. And then he saw it at the BFI in London.
Mm,
We had a screening at the BFI, and that was amazing. That was
yeah. Did he
amazing. And
respond differently? Yeah.
completely, he was so moved.
Yeah.
And he said, now I see the value of looking at something on a big screen because it just pulls you in, right?
Mm,
It was so
yeah.
interesting. And then of course, nobody knew that they were going to be there.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
don't advertise, right? Like when
That
when
they're
they're
coming.
coming, that they're coming. But just, because we don't want to put any undue pressure on them. And if they decide that they don't want to come in the end, or she doesn't
Right.
want to speak, or he doesn't want to speak, we don't want them to feel like they have to. So we don't ever let people know that they're coming. We just say special guests. So nobody knew that they were going to be there, and it was really extraordinary when people realized that it was them. And the same thing happened in New York for the CSW. We did this screening with UN Women and our other partners during
Mm,
the CSW in March, and that was also just extraordinary because again, people don't know that they're going to be there.
yeah. Yeah. When they were at the
Packed
event,
theater. Yeah.
yeah, even when they were at the event in Dallas where it was just snippets and a conversation,
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
know they were gonna be there. I was like, "Oh my
Yeah.
goodness, this is so
Yeah.
special."
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
for
So
him, him seeing it on the laptop versus the big screen.
yeah, versus a big screen was really something. So yeah.
Yeah, because he said, "Isme to kya खास बात नहीं है."
Yes.
There's so
And
much खास बात.
and he just didn't see it, and I think for her, always for her, what always sort of stayed with me was the first time she saw the film.
Mhm.
And then she and I had this conversation afterwards, right? Like the next
Yeah.
day, it's like, are you sure? Because this is when she decided she was going to come forward. Like she didn't want to be
Mhm.
hidden, right? Because
Mm, yeah.
I don't know if you know, for her, initially we were going to cover her.
I did see that at the end of the documentary, she
Yes.
agreed to reveal her
Yes.
identity after a lot of, like,
Yeah,
thought and
after watching the
conversation. Yeah.
film.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was this, when I asked her, like, why are you coming forward? Why do you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? And she said that she couldn't believe her courage as
Mm,
a 13-year-old child. She was like, I don't know, I can't believe that was me. I can't
yeah.
believe it. And I want to celebrate that. I want to celebrate that courage.
That sounds so healing for
Yeah.
her. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. She's amazing.
Oh my goodness. This is so special, Nisha. And I guess you've built, I guess, these relationships too, right? Like beyond the story you've told, the impact, the campaign, you have this relationship you've built with both of them,
Yeah. I mean,
right?
they're family. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a relate. It's like family that I'm going to know them for the rest of my life, right? Like it's not,
Yeah.
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 Man, how I want to know from your perspective, like, how does it feel now for you, Nisha, to see all of this unfold, knowing you ran into it by chance, it's created what it's created, and you've gotten the backing you needed, and now you have this campaign, you have this family. how does this feel for you, looking at all of it from start to how it's continuing?
I,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know because I'm so in the weeds, right? I have this
Yeah.
incredible team, and we're all just so in the weeds and
Yeah.
constantly just okay, like we're just working all the time, right? It's just a constant. We're
You don't pause
constantly,
to reflect
yeah,
on.
yeah. It'll be nice. There'll be a nice little reset over the winter,
Good.
over the
Okay.
next few months, so we'll be able to just do a little bit of just step back and kind of celebrate and also sort of course correct and right.
Yeah.
So we're just constantly in the weeds of it all. But I think what's really incredible is, of course, the film and the campaign,
Hmm.
but it's also what the campaign is trying to do for
Yeah.
the gender-based violence movement, which is infuse it with two things. One, recognizing the importance of storytelling in order to mobilize people so that we can shift culture.
Yeah.
That to me is so key, like getting other people to care so that
Yeah.
the gender-based violence movement isn't constantly just putting out fires, right?
Right. Right. It's not just reactive, but it's really
Yeah, exactly.
proactive. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's what I've sort of realized over the last year and a half, like
Mhm.
journeying with the film in this way as part of a movement building campaign
Yeah. Yeah.
and engaging with gender-based violence organizations, especially at this moment when everyone is so beleaguered because of funding and
Right. Right.
just, kind of a global backlash against women's rights and the progress that women have made. And so I feel like we have to bring other people with us now. It
Yeah.
has to be something that we start to instill. This kind of gender equality has to be something that we start to instill from childhood, and it has to become part of the global zeitgeist. And the only way to do that is through storytelling.
Mm.
So that for me, that's really critical. The other thing, of course, is sort of reframing the conversation so that we aren't, I think inadvertently what's happened is, and I can also understand why it's happened, but inadvertently
Mhm.
what's happened is we've created this conversation where women are primarily victims and men are perpetrators, right?
Right.
And on one level that is the truth. It's absolutely true that most violence,
Maybe. Yeah.
yeah, statistically, exactly, it is perpetrated by men, and the
Mhm.
majority of victims are women and girls, right? So those things are true. But that's not the whole picture. And I think for me, what I've realized over the course of several years now is how important it is to reframe the conversation around gender-based violence and to see all of us as united, as partners,
Mm.
right? To see
Yeah.
men and women and all people, all genders as partners in this idea of overturning a system. And that
Mm.
system is patriarchy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that's right, because that
Yeah.
system that's what the problem is. It's not
Right.
men that
Not
are the
men versus
problem.
women or men
It's
changing or
not.
women changing. Right.
No. It's a system that has
Yeah.
forced all of us to act and play a certain role.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
created a social structure and a social hierarchy. And that
Mhm.
hierarchy doesn't serve us anymore.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's such a good point, and it sounds, yeah,
Yeah.
such a good way to reframe
Yeah.
the
And I think
focus.
it's,
Yeah.
yeah, and I think it's exactly what you said, reframe, refocus. And then that way, if you refocus, then you're not alienating men and boys. And I think we've
Mhm.
inadvertently
Mhm.
done that.
Yeah, yeah, and you're actually focusing on where you can create
Yeah,
change.
exactly. So those are kind of like the big, broad
Right.
conversations that we're having with the film and with the campaign. And then,
Mhm.
within that, there are, of course, things that we're doing, tangible things that we're doing, like this incredible curriculum, called Creating a Gender Just World, which is
Mm.
amazing, K-12, globally adaptable.
I love that.
Yeah, it's
Amazing.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's an amazing curriculum, and it's getting out into schools in the United States and around the world.
Are you finding a lot of schools participating or
Yes,
yeah? Okay.
Farha, this is the
Wow.
thing. It is
Yeah.
so amazing. We were kind of nervous because, we're living in a particularly sensitive time.
Yeah,
So we didn't
exactly.
know, but there are so many schools that are looking at it.
And
right?
this is not just in the US, right? Or is this
It's
just in the US?
primarily in the US right now.
Okay, okay.
And we have partners that we'll work with to get the curriculum out into the world. But right
Mhm.
now, the focus is the United States. So, and
Yeah,
that's really been amazing. So that's, one thing. Then we have a petition that we are asking people to sign,
okay.
which the petition is essentially demanding that Congress invest in life-saving programs
Mm,
for survivors,
mhm.
and as well as prevention programs, both in the United States and around the world. And it's such an amazing thing because each petition signature, when you sign that petition,
Yeah,
it turns into a postcard, and you also have this opportunity to tell a little story about why you're signing, why you stand
I
with her,
love
why
that.
this is important.
Yeah.
Yeah. And each postcard then is mailed to your congressional rep.
Wow, okay.
And yes, and if people share their stories, if they want to,
Mhm.
we will then create a major kind of, I mean, maybe I won't talk about that just yet, but there's a third piece which is really interesting. So,
Sure.
for us, what we're doing with Stand With Her is saying, how can we use art and creativity to
Yeah.
mobilize and change culture so that all of this is not falling just on the gender-based violence movement?
Right, right. Yeah, you're adding in so much like different texture and color to this in
Yeah.
different ways. And the first part you said through storytelling, Nisha, do you
Yeah.
mean in films or do you mean with that curriculum? Or when
Yeah.
you say through storytelling, I
Yeah.
wonder if, yeah, like what kind of
Yeah.
responsibility do you think that is on storytellers and
Yeah.
like where is that? Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, so through films,
Mm,
we also have a big, it's through films, it's through media and social media campaigns. So we
mm,
have this really exciting campaign that we're working on. It's part of Stand With Her, but it's a very specific campaign targeted towards men and boys.
okay.
And that's a piece that we're developing with an organization called Equimundo, one of our key partners, and an advertising agency, a big global advertising agency.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So that'll be a really big kind of multi-year campaign
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
around engaging men and boys and changing ideas of masculinity,
Oh, I
right?
love this. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's that. Then, the other piece is we're creating kind of, I guess, sort of like a coalition of storytellers, right?
Okay.
So who are the other filmmakers, storytellers, journalists that
Mm-hmm.
we can bring on board for whom this is an important issue, and how do we collectively work together to create narratives that uplift gender-based violence organizations and mobilize public action.
I love this so much.
Yeah.
It is so amazing to see this documentary and then this movement alongside it.
Yeah, it's very exciting, because
Yeah.
it can't just be like, I believe in the power of art and story, but we need more storytellers.
Yeah, you need more Nishas.
More storytellers, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and honestly, Nisha, I was gonna ask, like, when you're in this, you're in these stories and you're witnessing injustice and you're telling them. I was gonna ask, do you feel like it affects someone's capacity for joy, just because there's a part of witnessing this that can feel overwhelming and helpless and hard, but you've created all of this out of it, which it speaks to the hope that comes from work like this or from being in stories or telling stories like this. I wonder, just from your perspective, do you feel, does it change anything in capacity for joy for you, or is it all hope and movement and mobilizing?
Yeah, no, it doesn't, it
Mm.
doesn't at all. It doesn't. I think part of it is, I've spent so much time in India, Farha,
Yeah. Are
and
you
India.
were born and raised in Toronto?
I was born in India, raised in Toronto.
Born
So I
in
was very
India, raised.
young.
Okay, got it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
yeah,
young when I moved to Canada. And
gotcha.
I think just having spent so much time in India, which is
Mhm.
such a complicated,
Mm.
and I hate using that word, like complicated, as if things are supposed to be simple. It's like a very rich, powerful country
Sure.
on so many levels because it's so old and it has such a rich, deep culture.
Yeah.
And it exists on so many different time zones at the same time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah.
And so I think it's a place where you are forced to confront your mindset. And my mindset was sort of a very rational Western mindset, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
kind of forces you to ask yourself some very deep questions, and to see the nuance and the complexity in things, and to also
Yeah.
understand, like you just start to kind of look at culture and time in a completely different way.
Yeah.
And supremacy, right? I mean, we have had this attitude in the West of being better. And so, spending all this time in India, you really start to shake off some of the prejudices that you have been shaped by. And I think that's given me a really interesting perspective on how change works, on how we look at time,
Mm-hmm.
on how we look at culture.
Yeah.
And so I don't feel at all weighed down by the heaviness of the things that I read or witness or experience or the
Yeah.
stories that I tell. Quite the contrary. I feel like we can do better. We
Nice.
just have to do
Yeah.
better, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Oh,
I
I
think,
love that. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that, I feel like it's safe to say not everyone thinks of it that way. Or like, when you come from India, or you spent so much time there, it's not always that you're going to find someone questioning and being curious and kind of like doing that work to understand deeply or notice those things. So the fact that you did and you have, and it has like it's drived you, it makes so much sense that this is all like mobilizing for you instead of shutting down or weighing down.
Yes. Yeah, it's a really, really good way of putting it. I don't feel bogged down or
Yeah.
helpless. Quite
Right.
the opposite. I feel like,
Right.
okay, let's
Let's do
let's
this.
roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And we need this. We need
Yeah.
that energy. Oh my goodness. Okay. Thank you so much. So much insight and perspective. I guess, like, we're at the tail end of this, and I had many, many questions. I feel like I could ask you a lot of questions for a lot of hours, but
I
I'm
can
not.
see why you're a really good therapist,
Oh,
actually, Farha.
thanks, Nisha.
It's so insightful and so
Oh, thank you.
emotionally intelligent. So
Thank you. Yeah. I'm
yeah.
genuinely very curious,
Yeah.
and I really admire your work. So, as we're coming to the end of this, Nisha, I guess if you can share in this moment, like, what stories or story do you hope to tell next? Or maybe like what journey are you on right now that you think will be reflected in your work? What feels alive or what feels unfinished for you?
So I'm making, obviously I think Stand With Her is going to go on for a number of
Yeah.
years.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And part of I think in March and April, I start editing again. Remember I told you there was a film that I was making about masculinity where I
Mhm.
was, right. Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm going to finish that film because
Okay, you
we
are with the
started it and
NGO perspective.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And it's very, very powerful. So I'm going to finish that. I want to finish that film. And then that film will also become part of this campaign, right? It's like another
Gotcha.
story that starts to
So aligned with, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's like the part two. So I'm working on that in March. And then, I don't know how many more films I really want to make,
Wow,
right?
really? Okay.
No, yeah, I'm
What's
not sure.
calling to you right now?
I think for me, after this, like after Send Us Your Brother, which is the new film,
Mhm.
there's a film that I want to make about children, and
Okay.
that's been calling me for a number of years, right? Where I
Mhm.
just feel like I really want to be around beauty
Mm,
and
yeah.
purity
Here.
and innocence and openness. And I don't know why or what or where that's going to take me, but I just sort of feel like I want to make a film about kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's been there for a long time, for a few
Mhm.
years I've been feeling this.
Mhm.
Um and then after that I honestly don't know. I don't
Oh,
I don't
I
know.
love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you don't need
No
to know.
idea. Yeah. I just feel like let's see what happens. Yeah.
Day by day. But I love
Yeah.
that you have things that are calling to you in this
Yeah.
moment and keeping you, in your creativity. And I guess, Nisha, like, since a lot of our listeners are South Asian and it's all about taking up space and, really having your own voice, having like kind of being knowing the challenges we face as individuals, as collectivist cultures, but still finding your way. And I wonder if there's any advice you would give to anyone who maybe is like, has that creative itch, but hasn't fully delved into it, or is afraid to, like we were saying in the beginning of this. Yeah, I wonder if there's any advice you'd give, just given your journey and your path.
Yeah, I never know, I have to say, I never know what to say to that. Like, what advice would you give? Like, it's such an interesting question. I think because I don't know, sometimes I feel like it assumes a kind of formula or a magic bullet, or
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? And it
No, that
really
makes sense.
doesn't.
Yeah.
And you just don't know you don't know what your path has in store, or how your life is going to morph, or you have no idea,
Oh,
right? And
yeah.
I think for me, there's two key things. Like, if there's anything that I've learned over the course of my life, I would
Hmm.
say
Hmm.
that I always followed my gut. And
Okay. Okay.
ultimately, I landed on that. I shouldn't say I always followed my gut, because I didn't, but ultimately, I came back to what my body always sensed, and
Yeah.
what my
The
body always sort of,
intuition you were speaking
yeah,
about. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that it's very powerful, and you have to trust it. And the creative space is hard, right? Like, there's very few kind of art stars, or
Yeah.
it's definitely a difficult path. It's a difficult journey. And I imagine, especially if you're in the United States, because there's so much more competition,
Right.
it's hard, right? So it's it's hard. And I think our community doesn't, my parents just didn't want me to struggle. They wanted me to have a good,
Like
safe,
a
secure
yes,
life. That was
yes,
that was
a
what it was.
successful, easy,
Yeah. Yeah.
formulaic
Yeah. Yeah,
career.
totally. Yeah, they didn't move here, leave everything that was familiar so that I would struggle, right? It was
Right.
the opposite.
Right.
So I understand, their fear and their resistance, but I
Yeah.
think if it's something that's in you and you have to do it, you have to just follow your gut. I think the
Hmm.
other thing for me is to question everything,
I love that. Yeah.
including yourself. Question everything that you believe and ask where it comes from.
Mm,
Really, that is such an exercise that I do now all the time.
mm, yeah.
And it really, really helps to know. It forces you to ask how we are made,
Right. Right. And what
and
is
how much.
something, yeah, that you want to keep or you don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And who you really are. It
Yeah.
forces a kind of journey, an internal journey that I think is very, very powerful and necessary.
Yeah, I love that, Nisha. And I think that is what leads you to the gut and then in the
Yeah,
intuition and the
that's
connection
right.
in the
Yeah.
body, right?
Yeah, that's right.
So I know you were like there was no advice, but that is, I think, just really, really great perspective to hear from someone in your position who really leans on that. Like, you're not just saying it, it has actually taken you and moved you into different directions is what the wisdom of your intuition and your gut and your body say. So I love that. I think that's so
You are.
important. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you so much. I hope it wasn't insane amount of questions for how you're feeling today, but
No. Oh,
I
it's great.
appreciated all of it, all of the insight. And I'm so glad and so thankful that you landed in this space the way you did. It feels like a gift to us all. And the impact that you are working on and making every day and giving everyone an opportunity to join in is just so wonderful. So Nisha, really thank you. Thank you for
Thanks,
all of this.
Vaha. Really appreciate it. Yeah, really
Of
appreciate it.
course.
So, and if I may just say, if
Yeah.
folks are interested
Yeah.
to learn more about what we're doing
Yes.
and how they can support us, they should just go to, toKillATigerFilm.com
Mm-hmm.
and go to Stand With Her, and they can learn about what we're doing, and, joining this
Join in.
incredible movement.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I will share the links and all of that information within the episode. So hopefully people who feel called to do that, do that. So thank you.
That would be great. Thanks, Farha. Really appreciate this.